So we're here today to talk about Silverlight 3 and the launch of Silverlight 3, which is happening today. But tell us a little bit about it, what's going on with Silverlight and what's going on with this launch.
Yeah, well, today we're announcing and shipping the final release of Silverlight 3. It's now available for download, and users that currently have Silverlight 1 or 2 installed on their machine will actually be automatically upgraded to it shortly. We're also today shipping the final release of the Visual Studio 2008 tools for Silverlight 3. And so if you have either Visual Studio 2008 or Visual Web Developer 2008, which is the free version of our Visual Studio tools for web, you can now go ahead and download that and start writing Silverlight 3 applications using VB or C#, using the development tool you know and love today. And then we're also today announcing that the final release of Expression 3, including the new Expression Sketchflow as well as Blend 3, will be shipping within the next 30 days, and that we have a release candidate available for both those products that you can download as well. So it's a pretty exciting day in the sense of a lot of new capability, all available you know, for both developers and designers to start taking advantage of.
So you mentioned a lot of new capabilities. So let's start maybe going through some of these capabilities, like Silverlight's going to have some, Expression's going to have some. So maybe start with Silverlight. What are some of the new capabilities that I should get excited about as a developer?
Well, I think, you know, from a Silverlight perspective, I think there's kind of 4 core areas of capabilities that are pretty interesting. From a media perspective, for doing kind of media-based and video-based applications, we've added things like H.264 and AAC codec support. So you can now use the same, you can now play the same videos that you can play, say, on the iPhone or with an iPod, now directly within the browser using Silverlight. We've added much richer smooth streaming support, and we now support both on-demand as well as live enabled smooth streaming, so you can get kind of an adaptive, very silky smooth experience for playing high-quality video. We've added hardware acceleration support within the browser, and so even if you're running on a fairly low-powered system now, you can now play high-def video with very low CPU utilization. Kind of, we'll handle everything there for you automatically. You know, just a bunch of variety of other great media-related features. In the graphics space, as I mentioned earlier, we have added hardware-based acceleration, so your graphics and your UI is even more responsive and performant. We've added things like perspective 3D support, so you can now take any control, image, or video, tilt it, pan it, do all types of 3D effects on it. We've added DX shader support, so you can actually now write DirectX shaders using the DX language and compile them down and use them within your Silverlight app. We've added bitmap and pixel API, so you can now draw pixels directly to the screen. Easing effects and a variety of other kind of great graphics features to take advantage of. In the app dev space, we've then added much richer data binding support, enabling element-to-element data binding, richer style management, so you can now do things like style inheritance, mouse wheel events, just a whole bunch of other great controls and features that you can take advantage of for doing application development. And the final big area from a runtime perspective that we've added is out-of-the-browser support. And so now you can run Silverlight applications both inside the browser as well as allow the user to securely take them outside the browser and run them in a sandbox, but it basically outside the browser you can pin applications to the toolbar, or the start menu, or the desktop, and that works both on Windows as well as the Mac. And so, you know, there's lots of other great runtime features, but that's just sort of a small flavor of them that you can take advantage of.
That's a small flavor.
That's a small flavor. There's a lot more. It's a pretty packed release.
So it's like, I mean, you've listed so many things there: pixel shaders, out of browser, smooth streaming, H.264. I mean, it sounds complicated. I mean, I'm a developer and I would like to start building some of these kind of things. What tools are going to be out there to make it easy for me to build these?
Well, the cool thing is today we're shipping the Visual Studio 2008 tool support. And so once you install it, you can do File New Project. You can do that either as you can do a File New Project and create a blank application. We also have a pretty cool template called the Navigation Project template, which gives you SEO support, it gives you deep linking support within your app, and as well as forward back button integration in the browser. So it makes it much easier to kind of build an app, per se, in an easy way. And you get full IntelliSense debugging support and you know, tooling support for all that. And so that's available for free as a download for both VS 2008 as well as the Visual Web Developer Express Edition, which is free. We're also then today shipping the release candidate, and we'll be shipping the final release within the next 30 days of both Expression Blend 3 as well as Expression Sketchflow. And those are tools specifically designed around building rich user experiences for Silverlight as well as WPF. And what you'll find with those releases is they're a massive step forward from previous releases, which were already really good. But both for designers as well as kind of interactive developers, as well as just developers in general, you'll find that both those products are kind of massive steps forward. We've added things like Code Intel Sense into those products. So now if you want to, you can just use Expression or you can just use Visual Studio. We've also added source control support, so you can easily now have both products enlisted in the same source tree and check in and check out code. From a tooling perspective then, major improvements in data binding, including design time data binding support for Silverlight within Blend. Much richer kind of navigation experience within the tool, so things like asset management are much more powerful, much richer state preview support, things like animation easing support, so you can get that really nice polished motion effect. And then I think the biggest feature then is this thing we call Sketchflow, which allows you to kind of dramatically change how you build your applications, especially rich internet applications, and start, instead of having to write code, you can actually start conceptually with sometimes even just sketches or kind of mock-ups of what you want your screens to look like. And you can add interactive behavior to them. You can actually model them on kind of a navigation canvas, so you can experiment with how the flow of the application will work. And then what's great is you can either run the application in the browser like a normal Silverlight app, or Sketchflow also supports a tool or a workflow where a reviewer of the app can basically open it up. They can actually annotate and add comments onto the actual UI screens, and then they can actually send those comments back to the designer or developer, and you can actually load those comments up onto the design surface. And so it enables this kind of really nice interactive feedback mode that you can do with your customers or clients, and very rapidly go ahead and build applications. And so all that support is pretty phenomenal. It takes full advantage of all the runtime features that are added with Silverlight 3, and I think the end result is a tool and platform combination that's really second to none in terms of being able to deliver solutions super fast and take full advantage of your client.
So yeah, we've always been very, very strong at building tools that are great for developers. And with Expression and with Blend and now with Sketchflow, we're really, really appealing to the designer side of the community.
Yeah, I'd say that Expression is great for both designers, and we do integrate with existing design tools like say Photoshop or Illustrator. So one of the nice things we actually now support is the ability to say, file import Photoshop or Illustrator file, or even just PowerPoint file, and we'll actually take those files and convert them into XAML elements. So if you're in Photoshop today and you build a layered PSD file, and you have text and you have other vector elements that you add to it in addition to bitmaps, we'll actually import that into Silverlight or into XAML-based markup that works in Silverlight, and then you can actually edit, show, hide any of the individual elements in the PSD file directly within Blend as you're editing it. So we not only are a great design tool, but we integrate with other designer-based products that are already out there. But I'd say the other thing is Expression, Blend, and Sketchflow are also really great, not just for designers, but also for anyone that's building UI. And so we kind of see this, we call sometimes the UI or UX developer, that kind of spans both the creative aspect as well as they're actually implementing the functionality. And Blend is now, I'd say, also a really good development tool for people that are building UI. And things like adding C# and VB IntelliSense support, adding source control support, as well as just the ability to kind of integrate data binding, including data binding to CLR objects directly within the design surface, opens up a ton of potential for people that might have previously found Blend, well, that's more for designers. Now you can actually use it for development as well. The end result, I think, is really powerful.
It's certainly pretty cool, and what's really nice is how now with the Blend toolkit we're able to reach this new community of developers, designers, or developers, or diviners, or whatever we want to call them, and approach them with the tools that they're familiar with, approach them to allow them to integrate with the tools that they're familiar with. But a lot of the times, a lot of the concerns that the design community have is that Silverlight's relatively new. We're up to V3, but we got to V3 very, very quickly. But it's relatively new, by the